In November 2025, archaeologists from the Russian Academy of Sciences announced the discovery of a submerged medieval city at the bottom of a lake in Central Asia. Stone-paved streets, fired brick buildings, a significant Silk Road trading hub, swallowed by a 15th century earthquake and preserved underwater for 600 years. The city sits between 1 and 4 meters below the surface. You could almost stand in it. The announcement was made. The discovery was real. The site was confirmed. And then the lake currents began destroying it, eroding the structures that had survived 6 centuries underwater, while a comprehensive excavation sat unfunded. They found it in late 2025. It is already disappearing. This is not the only case. What follows are 7 underwater sites, documented, confirmed, mapped, that the scientific community has found and, for reasons ranging from politics to funding to something harder to explain, decided not to go back to. Some are eroding. Some are politically sealed. Some have been sitting on the ocean floor, untouched, for decades. All of them contain answers to questions we claim to be asking. Boulder Cliff, Isle of Wight, the site that's washing away. 11 meters underwater off the northern coast of the Isle of Wight in England, there is an 8,000-year-old Mesolithic settlement sitting on the edge of a submerged river valley. It was discovered because a lobster dug into the seabed and pulled up worked timber, the oldest boat-building evidence ever found in Britain. That alone would have made Boulder Cliff significant. Then the excavations went deeper and produced something that genuinely shook the archaeological world: ancient DNA from wheat. Not wild wheat, cultivated wheat, the kind that required farming, traded from the Middle East and found at Boulder Cliff 400 years before agriculture was supposed to have reached Britain. That single finding doesn't adjust the timeline of European farming. It rewrites it. And here's the situation that site is currently in. Boulder Cliff sits directly under an active shipping lane. Dive windows are short. Tidal currents make excavation brutally difficult. The funding for comprehensive study has never materialized. And storms are eroding the seabed at up to 4 meters per year. The researchers themselves have described it as a race against time they are currently losing. An 8,000-year-old site that rewrites British prehistory is actively washing into the English Channel, and the scientific community has not found the resources to stop it. Fuxian Lake, China, the sealed discovery. In the deepest lake in southwest China, at depths between 5 and 60 meters, there are ruins. Stone-paved streets, elevated platforms, pyramid-like structures, the largest approximately 63 meters wide at the base. Chinese researchers documented them in a state-sanctioned expedition in 2001. The findings were reported. A full exploration report was promised within 2 months. That was 25 years ago. Since then, no independent researcher has been granted access. The lake is protected. No motorized vehicles are permitted on the water. All research has been filtered exclusively through official Chinese government channels. What civilization built pyramid structures at the bottom of a Chinese lake, and when and why, are questions that nobody outside Beijing's approved research teams has been allowed back to answer. Whether what sits at the bottom of Fuxian Lake is the ancient Dian kingdom, something contemporaneous with it, or something that predates it entirely, is a question the available data cannot resolve, because the available data is being held on a very short leash. The Black Sea, perfectly preserved and unreachable. In the year 2000, Robert Ballard, the oceanographer who found the Titanic, discovered something off the Turkish coast in the Black Sea. An ancient shoreline 300 feet underwater, with intact wooden structures still standing. The Black Sea's deep water is anoxic, almost completely without oxygen, which means almost nothing decays. Wood that would rot within years on a lakebed survives for millennia here. Ballard believed entire pre-flood settlements were down there, submerged during a catastrophic flood event approximately 7,500 years ago. A flood that, in scale and geography, some researchers connect to the cultural memory preserved across dozens of ancient civilizations. In 2018, a follow-up expedition found a Greek merchant ship from 400 BCE sitting on the Black Sea floor. Intact mast, intact rudder, intact rowing benches, perfectly preserved after 2,400 years. The prehistoric settlements Ballard originally found in 2000. Nobody has gone back. The geopolitics of the Black Sea, Turkey, Ukraine, Russia, make coordinated scientific access essentially impossible. The region's ongoing conflicts have closed the window on coordinated research indefinitely. Down there, in water so still that wood doesn't rot, there may be a complete chapter of pre-flood human history sitting perfectly preserved in the dark. We are not currently reading it. Alpena Amberley Ridge, Lake Huron, under our own feet. In 2009, University of Michigan researchers found something under 100 feet of water in Lake Huron. Over 60 stone structures, deliberate hunting lanes designed to funnel caribou, built approximately 9,000 years ago when the Alpena Amberley Ridge was still dry land, before the Great Lakes filled to their current levels. Some of these arrangements are the most complex prehistoric hunting structures ever found in North America. The most significant pre-Columbian archaeological site on the continent is sitting under a Great Lake. Comprehensive excavation has never happened. Funding is essentially non-existent. The site falls under federal waters where independent diving is restricted, meaning the people most likely to study it need permission from the same institutional system that has declined to fund the study. 9,000-year-old evidence of how the first Americans lived, hunted, and organized their communities is preserved underwater in a lake that millions of people live beside, and it has no research budget to show for it. Cleopatra's Palace, blocked by a military zone. Most people don't know that Cleopatra's royal palace is underwater. A series of earthquakes in the 4th and 8th centuries dropped the eastern harbor of Alexandria, including the royal quarter, its temples, its statues, and its artifacts, into the sea. A French archaeological team has been working the site since the 1990s and has brought up remarkable finds: granite sphinxes, statues of pharaohs, columns from structures that stood during one of the most consequential reigns in ancient history. But the majority of the site remains unexcavated. Parts of Alexandria's harbor fall under Egyptian military jurisdiction. Research permits are restricted, tightly controlled, and frequently denied. One of the most historically significant underwater sites in the world, containing physical artifacts from a reign that reshaped the Mediterranean, is sitting in a harbor that will not fully open to the scientists asking to study it. The French team has been working with whatever access they're granted for 30 years. Most of what's down there has never been touched. The Cuban site, the one nobody went back to. In 2001, a team of Canadian and Cuban researchers was conducting sonar surveys off the western tip of Cuba when their instruments picked up something at 700 meters depth. Geometric shapes on the ocean floor, symmetrical outlines, structures arranged in patterns consistent with planned construction, roads, platforms. What the sonar suggested might be pyramidal forms. The team took sonar images. They recorded underwater footage. Follow-up expeditions were announced. Then, funding collapsed. Cuban government access was restricted. Mainstream archaeology reviewed the sonar images and attributed them to natural ocean floor geology. The lead researcher, Paulina Zalitsky, maintained her position. She could not get institutional backing for a proper investigation. Those formations are still at 700 meters, unexamined by any scientific body willing to commit resources. Here is the precise situation. The sonar images are real. The footage is real. The team was professional and government contracted, and nobody has gone back. The honest assessment is this: natural ocean geology can produce geometric-looking formations. That explanation may be correct, but the way to confirm it is to go back and take samples. That has not happened, which means the question of what's at 700 meters off western Cuba remains open, not because the science is unclear, but because the resources to close it haven't materialized in 24 years. 7 sites. A Mesolithic settlement rewriting European agricultural history, washing away in the English Channel while unfunded. Pyramid structures in a Chinese lake sealed behind government access restrictions for 25 years. Pre-flood settlements in the Black Sea, perfectly preserved in anoxic water, unreachable due to regional conflict. The most complex prehistoric hunting structures in North America sitting under Lake Huron with no excavation budget. Cleopatra's palace blocked by a military zone, and a 700-meter deep sonar anomaly off Cuba that no institution has returned to in 2 decades. The pattern across all 7 is not conspiracy. It is something more ordinary and in some ways more frustrating. Funding runs out. Politics, close borders. Conflicts make fieldwork impossible. Institutional inertia decides that a journal article is sufficient closure on a question that isn't closed at all. History is sitting on the ocean floor. Some of it is eroding right now, today, while this video plays. And the gap between what we have found and what we have chosen to study is, in every case on this list, not a gap in capability. It is a gap in will.